feel a great swell of pity for the poor soul who comes to that school looking for trouble. What's happened to you?
Don't you remember?
You should have killed me when you had the chance!
Kill him, Bobby!
Welcome to Marvel Cinematic University. I am your professor, Cyclops, and joining me is the extremely awesome doctoral student Cyclone MC. I try to get an X in there, who has a bachelor's in the MCU, a master's in the multiverse, and is going for their dissertation in Marvel studies. Hello, Sly. How are you doing?
I am doing great now that I'm here with you talking about this movie, of course, X2. X gonna give it to you. We'll see how this goes.
We'll see how this goes. We'll see how long I decide to keep these on. By the way, for our audio listeners, I am of course rocking some Cyclops glasses that are awful, and you should not buy them. They're pretty cheap. You can find them online. I think I bought them off an Instagram ad because I'm a dork. And so I'm hoping that Frank, our fellow person at Point in Progress, will make me real ones because these are real bad. But you're absolutely right. We're here, of course, to talk more. We're actually back in the universe of the X-Men, which I'm very excited because I missed these characters from the last time we watched it. I actually really, really appreciated going back and watching the original X-Men movie. And now we get to see where their adventure takes us. And of course, that takes us to our very first class. Oh, no. Yeah. For our very first class, which is history class, where we talk about the facts of the movie. Which, of course, this movie is still directed by shitbag director Bryan Singer, who, he, for all the directorial movies that he's done some great films. Still a bad person, so make sure you know that. Story is done by David Hayter once again with Bryan Singer and Zach Penn. It is, of course, written by David Hayter, Mike Dougherty, and Ben Harris. Mike Dougherty, for people that saw a movie this summer called Godzilla versus King Kong, he did the previous one to this, which was the Godzilla King of Monsters, which led into it. So, and a great movie that I love called Krampus. So this Christmas season, please check out Krampus. The studio is still 21st Century Fox, and this movie stars so many people, but I'm going to go and try and see through these goggles and list them all. But it's Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, Funkin Jameson, James Marsden, Anna Paquin, Rebecca Romaine, Brian Cox, Alan Cumming, Sean Ashmore, and Kelly Hu. Did I even say Hugh Jackman? Yeah, Hugh Jackman's in there too. There's just so many people. Of course, you can stream this right now in 4K at Disney Plus, which is awesome, and that's how I watched it. However, I think I will buy, hopefully, like the box set when it's available. But it is definitely available for everyone who has Disney Plus. And Sly, if you can, please give us the plot, because I'm not reading that.
All right. Yeah, you gave me all the wordy plots. Jeez.
It's a continuing joke on the show, I guess.
Several months have passed since the X-Men defeated Magneto and imprisoned him in a seemingly impregnable plastic chamber. One day, a mutant by the name of Nightcrawler infiltrates the White House and attempts to assassinate the president, setting off a chain reaction of anti-mutant measures by the government. Meanwhile, Logan is trying to discover his past. As a scientist named William Stryker discovers Professor X's secret school and Cerebro, Magneto's partner Mystique is planning to break her leader out of prison. But when Professor X's school is attacked by Stryker's forces, Logan, Rogue, Iceman, and a few are lucky to escape. Those who remain meet in Boston, where they form an uneasy alliance with Magneto to stop Stryker and rescue Professor X. Jeez, I feel like every week they get longer and longer.
They do, and they just add unnecessary details to tell you things. Like, I mean, you got everything, but I think it was like, we didn't need to know about the Boston and the plot, like we'll get there. When you watch the movie, you'll get there. But of course, this movie has a ton of Marvel classic characters, which of course is Rogue, Jean Grey, Magneto, Professor X, Wolverine, Iceman, Storm, Cyclops, I'm rapping, Mystique, Storm, Stryker, Nightcrawler, and Lady Deathstrike, just to name a few. There are some other cute little cameos that are in this, like Colossus, Pyro, of course. Jubilee is named in the movie as well, and I don't know, Blinky Kid who like blinks and the TV changes, whoever that guy is. I'm sure he's somebody cool. But these are all the people that are featured within this iteration of X-Men. And now we go ahead and we'll move on to our next class, our Stanley Seminar, which we get to actually openly talk about the film. And of course, Sly, is this your first time seeing this film, or have you seen this film before?
Mm-hmm. No, first time.
Here we go. What did you think of this film?
Yeah. Overall, I liked it. I wasn't huge on it. Like, I wasn't, like, fully engaged the whole way through. I felt like it got a little bit slow in there for me. But overall, it was good. Like, I didn't have any problems with it, but there wasn't anything that really, like, stood out to me. It does the same thing as the first one, where you start off and they introduce like 5 storylines and don't tell you which one's like the A plot, the B plot, the C plot.
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to guess. We're just going for it. They throw all of these plot lines at you and you just like maybe we'll see these resolved. Which is, something. But yeah, no, I don't think I have anything bad to say about this movie. It was, in general, it was fine.
Yeah, I could agree with that. It's funny because back in the day, I would say that the sequels of most of the superhero movies were always my favorites because all they did was expand upon what they had and made things better. Like, for instance, better action, more characters. And those were the things that I think I was focusing on. I will say, I do think that even though X2, like I thought was my favorite at the time, is definitely a weaker film, in my opinion, to the first one after revisiting it. Only because I think I enjoyed the themes more of the first one and things that they were trying to say, and especially with the connection with Magneto and its connection with the Holocaust and what's it's trying to say about mutants.
I think that's what it was, actually. Yeah. I couldn't put my finger about what just wasn't clicking with me. I don't feel like this movie had anything to say.
No.
Like, they were trying to, touch on the themes of, like, registration and, like, anti-mutant legislation, but they didn't really analyze that. It was just, like, mentioned. They never really broke down what that meant for their story.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. I agree with that. The only thing that I think is probably a new aspect that they're touching on, but I don't think they go far at all, is actually Iceman returning home, and we'll talk about that one specifically because I have trivia. I have some trivia on that I'm not putting in the pop quiz because I think it's important. But ultimately, the movie itself, I think, moved away from being sort of like a actual film, and this is where the comic bookness is now starting to take over, of like, here's all the characters that you want to see, and here's them doing all their powers in some cool ways. Here's Wolverine murdering people bloodlessly.
They went there.
Yeah, like, I mean, if I remember, a lot of people. Yeah, he kills like no one in the first one to this one where he's like body bagging people.
He didn't directly kill anybody in the first one, I don't think.
Yes, exactly.
There's people who like died as a result of being in a fight with him.
Yes.
But he did it like straight up.
No, like 6 knives deep in their chest. No. And these were all human people, so I thought that was crazy. Like, and I just love that everyone just accepts it. And they just keep going, It's like, this man just skewered a guy, but whatever.
In front of children.
Yeah. And then, like, he's the only one with the highest body count. Well, almost. I mean, Xavier was almost the one with the highest body count. But ultimately, I just think that this movie sort of starts doing it's one of the part that starts doing the trend of the sequel that just tries to up the ante of the comic bookness, which I appreciate, but I also think that as a movie, it suffers as like an actual story that they're trying to tell. However, I forgot, one of the mutants also mentioned was Mastermind. That was Jason who does the thing. But he doesn't register as a threat other than he's part of a plot. That's the only thing. But yeah, I think I still enjoy the movie. And I didn't, like you said, I didn't have like a problem watching it. I just think that there are some moments where I think it takes too long to do certain things, and there's just so many like layers upon layers. Like there's like 5 different plots in the beginning, and then I feel like there's 5 other plots happening at the end, which is like Storm and Nightcrawler got to go do this one thing. Wolverine's going rogue and doing this other thing. Magneto is double crossing them and doing this thing. Xavier's doing that. So there's just so many threads that to me it's like I'm trying to like slow down and catch something, which I feel the first movie did way stronger. I don't know.
Yeah, there definitely was missing that through storyline. Like you never really got something that made it feel connected. It felt like if you were looking at like the like piecing together like evidence board, there would be like 5 storylines on one side and 5 storylines on the other, and like maybe one line that like kind of connects like jaggedly between the two groups.
Yeah, and then again, this is how they're all connected because they all meet at the same spot. Conveniently too, which I think is a problem. Like the convenient thing of like the plane is going down and then all of a sudden Magneto's just there. Like that was to me a little odd. But
all right.
yeah. We'll do that.
I have a couple silly notes that I want to get into before we get deep into our conversation here.
Of course.
My first note was in the opening, Logan's first scene. What the fuck was that outfit, dude?
Yeah.
It was a look.
Yeah, it was certainly a look.
My next WTF moment was Cyclops drives a blue Mazda RX-8.
Yeah.
That cracked me up. A fun fact, the first car I learned to drive on was a silver Mazda RX-8. So I know that car very well.
That's really cool. Does it have the cool indicator thing that comes out, like the little radio thing, whatever the hell that was?
No, I do not have a communicator that comes out of the fucking...
Is that what it does? Because they never do anything with it. Other than, I guess, it tracks them?
It's the phone that they
Do they talk? They actually talk? I didn't even... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man, I might have missed that much. I don't know. I might have looked away for a second. I just saw Wolverine looking at it and was like...
home,
yeah.
Yeah, no, so you see it in the car, and then
Yeah.
you don't see it, and then the parents come home, and they're like, who are these people in our house? And then the communicator, like, beeps or whatever,
Got
and
it.
Wolverine's like, oh, I guess that's me, and goes out and takes a phone call to the plane.
Gotcha.
And then we never see it again. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's true. I was like, I want that weird-looking cell phone that they had back in the day. For sure.
And my last not serious note was, I would die for that cat. I know I say that for any animal in superhero movies, but that cat was a good cat.
Fair enough. In terms of all of the characters, especially since there's a long list of new ones, specifically Nightcrawler, because Nightcrawler is the biggest addition. What is your thoughts on their interpretation of this character?
It felt a little heavy-handed
Sure.
to me. It felt like they were pushing too hard with who this character was and making it like very over the top. And while that works, it's not necessarily what I want out of my superhero characters, you know? I'm not when I'm going to a movie, I'm not expecting like 80s comics over the top ridiculous caricatures. I want more grounded, relatable characters in general. And I feel like there were definitely moments that I was endeared to Nightcrawler, but it was just there was so much that felt like a caricature with that portrayal that it didn't click with me as much as I would want it to, because that's such an interesting character, right? Like there was so much information there that they could have dove deep into and had like one like really shining aspect of this character, but everything about him just felt surface level.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, there was not enough there to make him a character other than the fact that they wanted Nightcrawler to be involved. Because I think that his character could have been very interesting. And all the religious aspects of him, I think, could have been interesting if they actually follow through on it. Like, for instance, I mean, he brings up the thing with the tattoos, which I think is new to the character, or at least a depiction, where he says he has one of these tattoos that are these symbols that he gets every time he's committed a sin. He said he's been very sinful. I would have loved to hear what that actually meant, because he seemed like a very nice person. So I'm very curious if it was sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy of like he feels like he's always doing something bad. Like the fact that he was taken advantage of in the situation and almost killed the president. Does he feel pain and remember that? Like, does he create a new scar for that, even though it's like non-directly his fault at all? Like he has nothing to do with that, but is he putting them on as sort of a reflection of religion? Like, I don't know. There was something there that I wish that they had something to say, but they chose to be more sort of like over, like kind of gloss over it as opposed to like being direct with it. And I think that would have been far more interesting and a direction to take this as to like, what does it mean to look the way that you do? I mean, he is a quote unquote demon devil looking creature that is supremely religious and believes in God. And there's so much there that I think that you could have done that they choose not to, and just have him be sort of a joke. Like every time he says like, my name is Kurt Wagner, but in the Munich surface, they cut him off like almost every time. And I'm just like, come on, I don't know, give him more respect.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like I would have loved to like get more than just a reference to his time at the circus, right? Or I would love to have that religious side really fleshed out, because it's looking at comics, you can't ignore religion as a part of these characters, right? So many of these characters were created by Jewish creators, and that's such an intrinsic part of their identity and how their stories are told. And it's really interesting to also see other religions represented in these characters. And like we've seen Catholic characters, right? We have Daredevil, who is very Catholic, and then now Nightcrawler, also very Catholic. And even in the Daredevil movie, we saw more fleshed out his relationship with his religion. And here it was just kind of glossed over. It was just random lines to
it was like table dressing,
relate to that. And I understand you can't have all of the aspects of his character fleshed out, but I would have liked to just see at least one of those. Because
no, he's just so underutilized. I mean, he's used as the catalyst of the story, which is a great action scene. It's still probably one of my favorites, just of the the way that he's ever been depicted on like in cartoons, which is just a simple bam bam. To see that in live action and then to be acrobatic and using all those skills that I know that character can do was really cool. I wish that there was more of that within the movie, but really he was just a catalyst. Really, he was just a teleportation. He's just a teleportation device. He was only there so that way Storm could go in that room. Like that's the only reason why he's in there at the end. And I wish there was more.
But I mean, got the dope action scene at the beginning in the White House out of it. Like, of course. I can't complain.
I can't complain because you got me something. And like I said, this is why it's like everyone loves those movies. They remember that. And it's such a juxtapose between the first movie, which like I told you is the action to me is not as prevalent in that movie. But when you go to this one, I'm like, okay, cool. Wolverine's doing these cool beats with these speeder, jumping down and stabbing.
The fighting was incredible. Like, especially like Wolverine and Nightcrawler, their fighting styles, and even Jean Grey, like her fighting really evolves, and so that was really impressive for sure.
This of course is another example of my favorite superhero being put to the sidelines yet again, which he gets a few moments in the beginning and then just disappears for a chunk of it to just be evil. And then of course he is a crying mess near the end of the movie. So there's that.
Can we talk about Cyclops? Can we talk
course.
about this love triangle? Because I
Does it work for you? Because
hate
it doesn't.
it doesn't work
Doesn't
for
work.
me.
No.
There's nothing
It's so
about
one-sided.
this that is compelling.
Yeah.
Like Jean has made her feelings very clear. Logan keeps pushing, which dude, consent.
I know, he straight kisses her in there, and I'm just like, whoa.
Mm. And then Cyclops is being very jealous, which she has no reason to be. She hasn't done anything to give him any cost. Nothing about the triangle works for me at all.
Yeah, I'm like, why is Cyclops so emasculated by this man? And I don't. And this is me definitively saying fuck you. And I remember back when I was a kid and I laughed at it, and I don't find it funny anymore because I rep NSYNC. The NSYNC joke isn't funny anymore. It's okay. Cyclops can listen to NSYNC in his car. That is okay.
It got a weak chuckle out of me. I'll admit that much. I think it was mostly the shock of, wow, they really put NSYNC in this movie.
Yeah, no, I just love the fact that it's coming out of his radio system, and I'm like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to do a movie. What are you trying to say? Given the fact that you have a gay director, and there's clearly some gay allegory in this movie. Which let me talk about that. I think that's so. I want to talk about this because Ian McKellen worked with the writing team on the scene where Bobby goes home, because he felt that it was very much in line with sort of the going home and telling your family that you're gay and the response to it. So that was heavily written with in conjunction with Ian McKellen, who is an openly gay actor. And I thought that elements were they were biting, and I think that that those moments hurt. And you see the hurt on Bobby's face when you see his family looking at him out the window, and just the things that they were saying were just so like poignant and when like what were your thoughts on that scene specifically?
It was incredible. I was not expecting it to be handled that well. It cut deep because of course I am, pretty openly queer person in my life. But I didn't really come out to my parents until recently, actually. Because my philosophy has always been, I have no reason to come out. If somebody asks me, I will tell them. But if you don't ask me, it's not my job to go out of my way to assure that. If you care, if you have any reason to know, or you ask, right?
Yeah.
But having that experience so recently and that scene handled with such care, I was so impressed that it really hit the nail on the head. It had all those beats, where you tell these not necessary lies but half truths, and then when these moments are more revealed, and the sting and the gut reactions that you get from people, and how that you can't necessarily blame people for their gut reactions, but at the same time it still hurt, right?
Yeah.
And the way they balance that with the comments his parents are making, and seeing how he's reacting to that, it was just done so well, and boy did it hurt. They really just went straight for the jugular with that one.
Yeah, so that scene specifically, I do commend the movie for doing, and to allow to be another allegory for the story, which I think the first one very much is pointing the Holocaust aspect of it, the sort of racial thing that this could apply to, but this also could apply to something else for someone who is living another lifestyle that other people are not aware of, and when you try to reveal that information, and this is the sort of feedback that you get back. So definitely think that they did a solid job there. However, I do wish the movie did push it just a bit further with the rest of the themes of the movie, but again, we're talking about a $200 blockbuster movie, whatever. So I give them kudos for trying at that time, which
especially for, what was this,
2003. Yeah. 2003.
Incredible. I X-Men as characters, as stories, has always been, the representation for different minority groups. They have been direct allegories since their inception. And so I really enjoyed that they're playing with different themes so far for different movies
Yeah.
that are referencing different points in history for different minority groups and how they're treated. And I'm really interested to see if that continues.
Yeah.
I really hope it does, to see what different historical moments are going to be referenced in upcoming movies, because that's something that I've been really enjoying about their story so far.
And honestly, I hope that is something that is continued into when they eventually remake all these movies into the MCU and really carry that forward. Because if you can carry a torch, if anything that should be apparent is those themes in modern day film, and I think that should be a keystone feeling that you get. Even though it's going to be interesting how they put them in, I'm very curious how that's going to even be possible. Given the fact that there's so many superheroes that have been living in that world. So we'll see. But I'm trying to think of some other things that also happened in the film. Let me talk about Lady Deathstrike for a second and how unfair this movie is to her in terms of just getting brutally murdered for no reason, because she was not herself. And she gets so dead.
Gotta say, very hot.
Very hot. Had a crush on Kelly Hu for years.
Yeah, no, she deserved so much better.
Yes.
There's just I don't even know what to say about that.
I just feel bad. When I was watching the movie, I'm like,
Yeah.
especially because you see the scene when Stryker is talking to Xavier and she's like coming to, and she's like, what's going on? And that's when you realize that they're being sort of these truth serum / like mind controlled, and she's not within her own mind, so she doesn't have her own agency. She doesn't probably want to kill Wolverine in that scene.
Right.
And I want to say there's
she's also a victim in this situation.
Yes, she's 100% a victim in this. And for her to be filled with adamantium is real fucked up. I think in the video game they rectify it, but either way, it's really brutal. I don't know how you rectify that. But the one thing I do want to say is, what was it? I want to understand this mind control thing, because we see, okay.
With the weird circle.
With the weird, yeah, like are they burning it in you?
How does that affect?
Yeah.
How does that go into, like, does your body absorb that? Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I have so many questions about
and it's
that.
excreted from this guy who's in this like chair. Yeah. Well, the thing that I want to say is, like, how does it wear off, and why didn't it wear off whenever she was hurt? Because what was it? Nightcrawler, he wakes up from he getting shot in the shoulder or whatever, and he wakes up and he disappears. So and what happened to Cyclops? Cyclops had it too, and he got like knocked out or knocked over from Jean Grey, and then he's back. But Lady Deathstrike was like getting stabbed, and she was like, did she get double dosed? Like, how did this work? I have no idea.
There was no explanation.
No.
And I just went, all right. Okay.
Yeah,
This
smooth
is
that
just the thing.
over.
We just have to
Yeah.
accept that it works however is convenient at the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy myself, so I'm gonna pretend that. Yeah, that's the major thing. Like, I understand, and some elements of the villain, which of course, let's talk about the villain now. Stryker, played by Brian Cox, who is delicious in this film. He's delicious in everything that he's ever been in. Specifically, right now he's in Succession, which is a big show that everyone really likes. And from what I've seen from him, and I've seen him in a bunch of things. I've seen this and Super Troopers, where he plays a very particular character. He chews scenery a lot. What do you think of Stryker in this film?
I thought it was really interesting to see the contrast between Eric and Stryker.
Yeah.
And we'll get to my thoughts about Eric in this movie.
Okay.
But in general, I thought the idea for his character was strong. It was there.
Yeah.
I just felt a little one note. Like, I didn't feel his motivations. like I understood what he was trying to do. I understood what his goals were, but I didn't understand where he was coming from. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, I can make inferences and, you know, have my own idea, but I wish they told us a little bit more. I want you to give me a little bit more context clues to get a better idea what's going on in his head. And I don't feel like we had that. I don't think we had time for it either, but
Yeah.
I just, you know,
So
I
that
think that would have helped flesh out the story a little bit more.
true. Well, it's when you're juggling 5 different storylines, it definitely gets lost in the shuffle for sure. But yeah, I agree with you in terms of the motivation. Like I can kind of see what he was going for, but I wanted more context because ultimately it seemed like he tried to help his son. He wanted to cure him, at least in some caring aspects. But then the kid obviously did something terrible to his wife, and then I assumed, did some experiments on his son and totally is like neutered him, and now is using him for this massive plot. I thought was very interesting, but I don't know. I feel like there's still something missing there personally, but I did like the reversal going in when Magneto goes in there and he's like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite. Uno reverse card. You lose. But let's talk about Eric.
Yeah, in the first movie, I loved him so much. I thought he was such a fascinating character. You knew exactly who he was, you know exactly what he stood for, and just because he was the antagonist of that story, he was doing everything from a place where he believed he was doing what was right and had such conviction in that
Yeah.
and was such a powerful piece of that first movie. And in this movie, he shows up. He doesn't like what the other guy's doing, so he guesses he'll work with them.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Like, I feel like they nerfed his character so much in this movie that like he's just there, I guess. And that wasn't good enough for me. You had such a powerhouse of him in the first movie. And to kind of just throw away all of that development, at least I feel like it was just kind of abandoned.
Yeah.
He was there because Stryker was going against mutants, and he obviously is very pro mutant, and so he's going to do everything in his power to protect what he believes is right. So he conveniently teams up with our protagonist and pulls an Uno reverse card, which everybody should have seen coming. Like,
Yeah.
you know who he is. Like, that's not a ooh shocker moment. Like, I feel like they did him so dirty in this movie.
I agree. And I do think that I also missed some of the other villains that were on his team, that their absence here sucked. Because, well, we don't really know what happened with them other than one struck by lightning and one fell down. I assume they're alive. I don't know. From what I understand, they're just not around. But even so, yeah, I agree in terms of him as a character. He is the weakest link. He is the catalyst, I guess. There's so many catalysts to the story. It's either the catalyst is Nightcrawler attacking the president, or the catalyst is Eric is being brainwashed and tells him about everything. So many catalysts. Not enough middles and ends. But once we get going, I do like the way he escapes, which of course is such a terrifying way to die.
When we get that first scene with Mystique in the bar and she like takes the dude and injects him, I was like, what is that? And then he shows up and you're like, oh no, like something's wrong with the scanner. And then he just extracts the iron from his body.
Yes.
That was so cool. I lost my mind at that moment. That was like visually striking moments.
Yeah.
The two that like really stood out were the White House fight at the beginning and Magneto straight up ripping iron out of that dude's body.
Yes.
Honorable mention to the fight scene at the Institute, but like
yes. No, just in terms of visuals and just seeing the balls just like explode throughout the plastic cage, which I thought was a really cool thing. And I love that he turns the ball into a flat surface that he stands on, which explains how he flies. Because I always like, I was like, how does he fly in the comic books, or how does he fly in the cartoons? And I'm like, oh wait a minute, he probably has metal boots that he uses to lift himself up. And I'm like, that makes more sense. So, and I love that comment that he makes when he's holding the plane, and he says, when will these people learn to fly? Is partially a reference to obviously the plane, but some of the characters fly in the comics. So like Storm flies, Jean Grey flies, stuff like that. Like, when will these people learn to fly? And I thought that was cute.
They don't need the plane.
Yeah. Rogue is also in there too. But yes, definitely. I think that I still love him regardless. And I think he's such a presence.
Absolutely.
Him and Patrick Stewart, even though Patrick Stewart is also, I would say, neutered in majority of this movie. But I do love the little moments that he does have that we do get to see in this film. And we'll talk about that obviously in drama class. But anything you think you should cover in this seminar? Anything else?
That's a good question.
Is that Wolverine, I guess? I mean, yeah.
Um,
Doing Wolverine stuff.
I mean, yeah.
His hair, impeccable.
I was obsessed with the Lady Deathstrike with it coming out of her nails. Like that was so cool.
In 4K, it looks even cooler because you can see that it's like rivets. Like it's like it's I was like, oh no.
And then the other thing was I really enjoyed the end monologue. I think it was Jean Grey reading it, but it was a callback to
Yes.
Professor X
The first movie.
at the opening of the first movie.
Yes, it was.
That was a great moment. That I was like, ooh, I get that reference.
Yeah. And do you know what that thing is in the water? Like, what's that little image that you saw?
No idea.
Well,
What
we're
was
gonna
that?
get ready. We're gonna
Okay,
find out in the next
see.
movie.
We'll see later.
But let's just say we'll not see the last of Jean Grey. It wouldn't be an X-Men movie if there wasn't a random visual gag that I saw, or a mistake in the film that I noticed in 4K. Last time it was,
it?
I think like it was a little line someone was wearing. Yeah, this one was, and I don't know if you saw it, and it's something I known for years, and I love that it's still in the movie. They didn't find a way to fix it. So you know where the kids are in the little room, right? And Storm and Nightcrawler have to like teleport in there, and he's like, I don't know how to do if I don't know what I'm doing. If you watch the scene again, there's a shot of the kids are looking up, and in the background is Nightcrawler is already there, hiding in the darkness. And they go up, and he's like, I don't know what to do. And then he teleports, and then the next shot is him coming out from the wall. So it's such a great, just like, the editing there is so, they couldn't get another shot, or, they haven't digitally removed it yet specifically. But I love that Nightcrawler just hiding, just like hiding there in the dark. Yeah, it's like when he comes out. Yeah, he comes out like this. So yeah, that's this. I hope I watch the third one. I find another one, but they, sad little fun little things that happens when you see this. But I think that wraps up the major discussion points of this movie. I think overall, what do you think? Does this movie hold up, or is it still worth watching? What do you think?
I would say yeah. I think it holds up. It's, I feel like we've been really negative on this movie. I wasn't
I know.
that negative on it. I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a fine movie. I would definitely recommend it. I think it's still worth watching. It brings up a lot of valid points and, addresses things in a really pertinent way. And I would say there was way too many storylines, but other than that, I think they accomplished what they set out to do, which is continue the story of these characters and make a badass action film, right?
Yeah.
Like, the action was definitely the star of the show. And after such a heavily story-based first movie, that's a little jarring. But overall, it was enjoyable. It was fun. There was nothing besides, my problems with the first movie that are continued just because of the nature of who's casted as who.
Yeah.
There was nothing that it was bad reaction, a gut reaction that was like, oof, that doesn't hold up. I think overall it's solid.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like high praise, but it's solid.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'll say that the movie is solid on its own, and I think it's fun, but I think it's fun in the popcorn sense. If you're looking for like a continuation of the story, I'm not sure if this is really sells it. I feel like it's just a stepping stone to where they try to get to in the next one, because of the character of Jean Grey sort of set up here is not really fleshed out. You don't know what the hell's going on, and you're not really going to know until the next movie, which I find a little frustrating. But when it comes to like Wolverine, right? Wolverine's main conflict is he doesn't know who he is. And this movie is trying to semi help him explain through some of those things, even though I feel like he gets just the answers that he needs to realize he doesn't need the answers, because he doesn't need to, he really doesn't need to know of the bad things that he may have done in the past. Other than it's like, he has his found family. This is who he'd rather be with. And I think that's where we need to be. And so, but in terms of a movie, upping the ante on certain things, upping the ante in the action scenes, like we even talk about the jet scene specifically, which was like, they never used in the first movie. They just used the jet to go from one place to another, from New York to somewhere else in the New York. In this one, they're like traveling across, the United States, and there's an actual like plane fight with rockets. And the tornadoes, even though CGI, granted, it's not the greatest this time, it's still a cool concept to have Storm be able to do any of that. Like, that's really, really cool. But
finally getting to see Storm actually be a badass was great.
Exactly. So I think those are some of the things that are worth checking out. And the Nightcrawler sequence alone, I think, earns the price of admission. And yeah, I think if you enjoy the first movie, you'll enjoy this enough to warrant seeing the characters interact again. And I think that honestly is enough. It's more than I could say than some of the other movies that we talked about already that are sequels. So we only talked about one. So you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think
we have only talked about one sequel so far.
This is the second sequel that we've done so far. So yeah, take from what you will. But I think that will end our Stanley seminar. We were both saying it's worth checking out. So definitely check that out. So moving on to the next class, we're going to go ahead into drama class. Let's do this. I'm so excited. So we have a couple of dialogues here. Which for this first one, which one do you want to be? You want to be Professor X, or do you want to be Wolverine?
For the first one, I want Wolverine.
Okay. Logan, my tolerance for your smoking in the mansion notwithstanding, continue smoking that in here, and you'll spend the rest of your days under the belief that you're a 6-year-old girl.
You do that?
I'll have Jean braid your hair. Love it. Love that scene.
So good.
Love that scene. Love Professor X just dipping into him. Oh, and for him to have to take the cigarette out with his hand. Oh
yeah. And you can see it healing.
Oh,
that was so good.
Nasty.
All right. I want Bobby for the next one.
Got any beer? I don't know. That's my Wolverine. Got any beer?
All right. This is a school.
So that's a no?
Yeah, that's a no.
Got anything other than chocolate milk? Love that.
The next line's something about soda in it.
Yeah, there's soda, yeah.
Yes.
I love that, like, weird, like, they pause, and it's like, freeze my soda. Like,
he just doesn't say that, he just hands it to him, he blows on it, and then
just hands it to him. I'm like, all right, man.
Iconic.
He's got some spittle in there now, but that's fine. Okay. Do you want to do Nightcrawler or Storm?
Ooh, Storm.
Okay. I want to apologize to our German listeners. I'm going to try to do a Kurt Wagner impression. I'm sorry. So, outside the circus were afraid of me, but I didn't hate them. I pitied them. Do you know why? Because most people will never know anything beyond what they see with their own 2 eyes. I don't know. I got very Southern all of a sudden.
Well, I gave up on pity long time ago.
Someone so beautiful should not be so angry.
Sometimes anger can help you survive.
So can faith.
Can we talk about how much I hate that line? I full body cringed when he said, somebody so beautiful should not be so angry. Fuck you, dude.
Oh, he's such a sweet boy, though. I understand. If it was like Cyclops said that, or if Wolverine,
Fair enough.
Bobby, let's talk about Bobby for a second. Bobby's like, here's my grandma's clothes. All right. And she starts changing. And what does he do? He fucking turns around and looks. Fuck creepo. Listen, like, yeah, you got to get your jollies somehow in that relationship, but still, it's not the right way to do it. Oh, boy. Okay. Oh, this is a weird one, but yeah, let's go ahead. Do you want to be Rogue and Bobby, or do you want to be Wolverine?
I'll be Wolverine.
Okay, so I'll be Rogue and Bobby, so I got to do two different accents.
Who's this guy?
This is Bobby. He's my I'm her boyfriend.
You're the next line, dude.
Fuck. Call me Iceman.
Boyfriend. So, how do you guys...
Well, we're still working on that. I'm like, what is Wolverine saying there? Is he saying kissing? I hope he's saying kissing. It's a weirdo.
Who knows? It just cracks me up. I love that scene so much because Logan's like so much like her de facto like dad figure.
Yeah.
And so for Bobby to be like all like macho, like tough dude, and Logan just to be like, all right, kid, whatever. What are your intentions with my adopted child?
No, I do love that because watching it this time, and I was very aware of body cues and stuff like that. And I saw that Bobby was sort of like trying to like stiff chest Wolverine as if like Wolverine's this like hot thing that could take away Rogue, which I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. Rogue 100% has a crush on Wolverine, but I'm not saying there's a little crush there.
You're right. I just hate it.
I hate it too.
I'm pretending it doesn't exist.
I know. I agree with you. That's why when Mystique did the like changed in the different people thing, and then it was like, get the fuck off me, like get off me. That was weird, for sure. This is a good back and forth. Do you want to be Pyro or Magneto?
I'll be Pyro.
Okay.
So they say you're the bad guy.
Is that what they say?
That's a dorky looking helmet. What's it for?
This dorky looking helmet is the only thing that's going to protect me from the real bad guys. What's your name?
John.
What's your real name, John?
Pyro.
Quite a talent you have there, Pyro.
I can only manipulate the fire. I can't create it.
You are a god amongst insects. Never let anyone tell you different.
That line.
Yeah.
And he's like, you are a god among insects. Chills.
So good, so delicious, and I loved doing that voice too for him. It was so good. And of course, the last line being Magneto using the powers to stop the X-Jet when he says, "When will these people learn to fly?" Which is delicious.
So good.
And that concludes drama class. Moving on to music room, which is our fun little section where superhero movies of the era are remembered for their original soundtracks. And basically, does this movie's music hold up, or does have any songs that are still bangers today? And honestly, there's only one song in this movie and the soundtrack. So I'm going to say yes, NSYNC's Bye 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 is still a banger, and I will listen to it every single goddamn day. I don't care if it's playing on Cyclops' room or in his car.
Yeah, this movie, like the score was forgettable.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. You don't want a memorable score most of the time.
Yeah.
It was there. It didn't distract for anything. But yeah, the only like real song in there was Bye Bye Bye. And that was such a moment.
Yes.
Incredible.
It's a place and time when this song came out and when this movie came out. So definitely think that's iconic as far as I'm concerned. In terms of the score, I do want to say the main theme is still my favorite, and I just love that do like that segment of it is my favorite. only rival to the animated cartoon. So to give it any sort of luck there, no, figure that is the love I'll give it. And that, of course, is the end of Music Room. We're going to go ahead and move over to quiz time, where Mario quizzes you. And I have to remember.
Sly fails terribly.
I have to go find my questions, which I believe should be in my other folder. Let's see here. Pulling this up now.
Fine. I can continue to talk about how everybody was hot in this movie.
Do it.
So many hot people. I can't remember her name. What was the assistant? Stryker's assistant?
What was that, sorry?
She was great. Stryker's assistant?
Oh, Lady Deathstrike?
Was that the same character?
Yeah, that's the same character.
Oh my god. I legit thought those were two different characters.
Oh, Lord.
I was like, they're both hot. It's the same person. That's why I thought they were so hot. Makes sense.
Yeah, checks out.
All right. Yeah, no, that was great. I don't know. It's like, especially these old movies looking back, like the graphics don't necessarily hold up, especially the CGI. But like, it's like so interesting to look at them from like the quality of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a pretty movie in general.
Yeah.
It definitely is not as pretty as it could have been, but pretty solid.
Let's see. I think I got my questions here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. It is quiz time. And the very first quiz is going to be, which actor or actors were up for the role of Nightcrawler? 1, Neil Patrick Harris. Topher Grace, 2. Paul Rudd, 3. Or Paul Walker. These are all...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
These are all actors.
These are all actors, and these are all active at the time.
Oh gosh. I have no idea. I feel like Neil Patrick Harris has to be in there. This is actors plural, so I'm guessing more than one.
I'm looking at my notes here. I'm going to tell you, I'll give you a hint. There's only one of these is the right choice.
There's only one? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Can you imagine Paul Rudd in that role though?
At this time, Paul Rudd pretty much was doing comedies. I think he was in Anchorman, which I think is roughly around this time. I have to triple check on that, but yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. You'd find, honestly, Paul Rudd and Adam Scott are in weird ass movies that you would not expect them to be. For instance, Adam Scott was in a Hellraiser movie, and Paul Rudd was in a Michael Myers movie. So very weird.
Oh gosh. I have no idea.
Who would you eliminate from this list immediately?
They're all so out there for this role that
is true.
I could see any of them being a possibility.
If you had to take a random guess.
You know what? I'm gonna throw it out there. Let's get Paul Walker in there. Why not?
It was in fact
final answer.
Is it final answer? It was in fact Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Yes.
Should have gone with the gut. That was my gut instinct, you know. Should have stuck with it.
For sure. Which
Can you imagine Neil Patrick Harris?
I mean, it would be interesting. I've heard him do different voices, but yeah, out of the list that I made up, which is a fake list, Neil Patrick Harris. I think I could never see anyone else not playing Nightcrawler other than Alan Cumming, which of course is the actor that did it. However, I do think that the kid that they actually end up doing in the later movies is actually does a really good job. Which I did want to say, this will be the last time that we see this version of Alan Cumming doing Nightcrawler, which is sad. He hated doing the the makeup, so he did not want to return. Love you.
That's fair.
His character was written out due to the next video game that came out, which was the video game that came out before the third one, where he said that like I'm leaving, and then that's why he's not in the third movie. So
all right,
there you go. If you like that character, you play a video game to find out what happened to him. So yeah, that goes for the first one. Okay, how many hours do you think it took for the makeup for Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler? I think the last time I gave you options, I'm gonna give you some options here. Was it? I think 6 hours, which is close to the time that I think that she took. 8 hours or 10 hours. Just gonna give you three options: 6, 8, or 10.
Gosh, it looked way more in depth than Mystique's, but 10 hours is like a work day. Like that, you wouldn't have any time to shoot.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna say a solid 8.
It was actually 10 hours. It took 10 hours,
10 hours
to go full. Yeah.
to get into makeup.
Full makeup.
How
yeah.
did they have time to shoot anything after that?
You notice he's not in the movie a lot.
You're right.
Yeah, he's not in the movie quite often.
He really isn't.
So there's actually a section where let's see here. For the scene where they're in the church, where his skin and makeup is shown, is only shown from the waist up because that's all he did. But in other scenes, he has like feet and stuff like that and all that jazz. So yeah, 10 hours, which is quite a lot.
I don't blame him. I would have asked to be written out if I had to sit in makeup for 10 hours as well.
And of course, the iconic question, is Stan Lee in this movie? Is Stan Lee in X2?
I could not find him anywhere. I don't know if I just missed him, but like, I don't think so.
He is, from what go ahead, sorry.
I just like, I would assume he would be in it. Like, he's been in so many of the past ones. Like, I don't know why he wouldn't be there, but I could not find him.
From what I understand, yes, he is not in this film. And I think a lot of it had to do with the studios weren't really flying creators out to be in films at this time, and they were shooting in, I think, Australia. So they were, and he was also up in age, so they didn't want to risk it. So he is sadly not in X2. So he is in X-Men 1, but he's not in X2. So he has some character in the universe somewhere. We'll see if he ever returns to the X-Men universe, but sadly he is not. And there we go. Oh my God, this one we blazed through the 7 questions. That's pretty much it. You got 1 out of 3 questions, which are the only ones that I got, because honestly, I accidentally gave one of the questions away when we talked. The question I was going to ask was, what scene do you think Ian McKellen had a hand writing in? Which I already said, which was the scene where it was the Bobby talking to the family. But yeah, that
I'm glad we got to talk about that though, because that was a great scene. So.
No, for sure. I think it was very, very important to talk. So, and it looks like we're going to end our session here going into Homeroom, where we talk about our final thoughts on the film. I think we pretty much covered it. Yeah, go see this movie. I think if you enjoy it, it's available on Disney Plus. It's worth checking out if you've never seen these movies. And yeah, I don't have a problem you watching it personally.
Yeah, it's easy to access. It, is a good follow-up to the first movie. I don't have anything to say negative about it. I mean, besides what we've already kind of hashed on, but overall, it was enjoyable. There was nothing I hated about it, and I'm really excited. I don't know where the series goes. I'm really excited to see the third movie and see how everything that was set up in this movie ties in. I'm looking forward to what my opinion on this movie is once we get through a couple more X-Men movies. So we'll have to revisit this thought. But for now, solid. Check it out.
I agree with you there. I am very curious of what my thoughts are when we revisit this universe with X3, The Last Stand, I think is what it's called. Or X-Men, I don't know, whatever it's called. Only because I know in my heart of hearts I hate it. And that's why I'm hoping, with an open mind and a new perspective, that I'll let certain things go. And we'll go from there. But until then, the homework for next week of course, is a movie that I actually really, really like, and I really hope it holds up in my eyes. But we're going to be talking about Ang Lee's Hulk 2003. It is the Hulk film starring Eric Bana. And I like this movie a lot. I really hope. Have you seen this movie?
I have not seen this.
Oh,
movie.
okay,
I'm very
great.
excited to check this out.
Yes, because we have a lot of interpretations of the Hulk. This is our first time talking about him.
There's people don't talk about this movie, but
No.
the rare occasions they do, it's been mostly positive. So I'm really excited to check this out and see how they tackle this character.
Yeah, it's the only film that doesn't have like a sequel to it, that like it doesn't continue the story. It's sort of like it's one and only thing, and then it goes on and they reimagine the character for the MCU. So we'll definitely see how that goes. But yeah, I believe that's pretty much everything. Where can people find you on the net, Sly?
You can find me everywhere at SlyClanMC. You can I'm trying to do the math. I'm by the time this comes out, Stark Radio after parties for Hawkeye are probably done.
Probably wrapping up. What'd you think of the show?
I'm gonna call it now. It's good to great.
Okay.
We'll see if that holds up. Go check out the archives on the Stark Radio YouTube to see if I actually hold that opinion.
Yeah. Wasn't it cool that Kingpin showed up? I don't know. I have no idea. If I call that now,
I mean,
oh God.
I could see it because with the Echo storyline, if I could see. This is a
discussion another day
for another show.
Yes.
But yeah, you can find me on the internet at SlyClanMC. You can find me on season 4 of Stark Radio, and of course, you can find me at Point in Progress on all the things.
Fantastic. Of course, you can find me at Night Mute City, which is my Twitter handle. You can also find me everywhere else, though, at That Mario Rivera. That includes YouTube, Twitch, and some other fun places. I did notice here that I had one more thing of trivia, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it really fast. On The Tonight Show, Jay Leno, Hugh Jackman related the story about something that happened to him during the filming of the Weapon X flashback scene. While he was filming the corridor run, which he is nude and is backlit, he turned the corner and saw the female cast members and also James Marsden's mother waiting for him, hooting and hollering and waving dollar bills. I don't know how I should feel about that.
Like a pleasant. That does not sound great.
No.
I would not be a fan of that work environment.
Yeah, see, this is the kind of work environment Brian Singer fosters. You don't want that at all. Though, shout out to James Marsden's mother. And with that, class is dismissed. Or whatever I say at the end here. I forgot. Class is dismissed.
That's so close.
Class is dismissed.
Nailed it.